First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji, host of Tier Talk. Russ just did a great video. It's on obligation. Basically, I do for you, you do for me. We never ever want to be put in a position where we feel obligated because we feel that we have to pay it back. And inmates are aware of that. Inmates that look to manipulate. And it's subtle. It could be something just like a key word. Hey, boss, I'll do you this favor, but only for you. Sometimes you have incidences where an inmate could save an officer's life. And now that officer may feel obligated to that inmate. So what should administration do? Transfer the inmate out. We went over this before. But obligation is one of the 6 laws or 6 principles of persuasion. And Russ is going to break it down in a specific scenario that happened to him, where for a moment he felt obligated to an inmate. And that obligation almost led him to not do his job as effective as it should be. It's a great story, Russ, and we're going to hear it when you come back from our sponsors. All right, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you brave men and women that work in corrections, so please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stand by, and when we come back from our sponsor, we will hear Russ's story on how an inmate tried to play him.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Hi everyone, I'm Russ Hamilton. I'm a retired sergeant with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Hey there, Keepers of Chaos, as well as Tier Talk fans. Russ Hamilton here. So we've got a little subject here for you, and this subject has something to do with manipulation, but I don't really want you to think of it in those terms, because often when we use that term of manipulation, what happens is we always think of the worst possible scenario, the worst case, if you will. And when we do that, we shut ourselves up to the other forms of manipulation that happen. They're often a lot more subtle than, corruption and being completely co-opted by inmates. So, one of the terms that I use sometimes when I'm talking about what can happen in manipulation is a little thing called quid pro quo. Now, quid pro quo literally means this for that, or something for another thing. Now, when I talk about something for another thing, or this for that, this isn't usually a case where, you're there negotiating an apple for an orange or anything like that. It's usually not a physical property so much. What it usually is, can be things like, it could be a compliment. It can be just simply not giving you a hassle over something. It could be doing a good job. And this is a particular way that inmates try to put us in a position where we do not do the full extent of our job, so that they can manipulate or take advantage of a situation where they can breach security in one way or another. Now, a particular example that I have of this is I was a sergeant, and I was heading up this unit, and we were getting ready to conduct a huge mass search. And I had this inmate, he was my clerk. And this clerk, he was a great clerk, man. He would handle all of the paperwork that I pushed his way, and he would make sure that the office ran smoothly, and he would make sure that the right inmates that needed to talk to me got in, and would shut down the nonsense ones. And so he really kept that office running great. So while we were getting ready to conduct this search, which was inside his dorm, everyone was coming out. We were patting them all down. And he came over to me and said, "Hey, can you be careful with my stuff? I've got some extra stuff in there." So for a split second, I was just thinking, hey, he's probably got something extra or something he's not supposed to have, probably something that's not a big deal. And so he left, and but there was this look in his eye. And so one of my officers came over and said, hey, you want me to hit this spot? And I knew it was this inmate's spot. And I said, well, you know what? Hit it, but make sure that you go down as fine and as nitty gritty as you can. Because I just had a feeling. So after a little time passed, the officer came over, showed me what he'd found. And this inmate had a DVD player. Right. And not only did he have a DVD player, but he had some skin flicks to go along with that. And then along with some of those skin flicks, there were some love letters to a female that was working over in medical. So now what do we have? Now we know that we have a breach of security. We know that contraband has been introduced ostensibly by a staff member. So we go over there, we handcuff him, take him to SEG, and then while they were in SEG and they were finishing up his property over there, well, they hear a buzzing sound inside the locker, because they took the whole locker over there. And lo and behold, that was the very first cell phone that was ever found at that institution. So anyway, this inmate that was doing such a great job, he thought that he could count on that for being able to, gain a little extra favor, or just not be looked at as hard, or just to do a half-assed job. Just do a half-assed job on searching his stuff. Well, it didn't work out for him that way. But, quid pro quo, it's really ingrained in humans. It's in their DNA, if you will, practically. It's just a thing where, that's the way we deal with one another on a day-to-day basis often enough. And it's unspoken, and it's just that one thing for another. But it can be really, really damaging inside of a correctional setting, because we're put in a position where we want to be helpful to a person who's been helpful to us. So you should always be asking yourself, is this a quid pro quo? What's the worst possible thing that this could mean? And then decide from there whether or not this is something where you're going to do something for that individual or you're not. But be advised, these guys are really good at it. We have lots of sociopaths, lots of psychopaths. And the one thing that all of them are very, very good at is what? It's manipulating people. That's part of the reason that they got in there. They manipulated someone to a point where they couldn't manipulate them anymore. And then the bottom fell out, so to speak. So anyway, hope you guys will take this to heart. This is a different form of manipulation than you're probably used to hearing about. But this is the one that tends to impact us the most, and we often don't realize it. One of the reasons that we don't realize it is because a lot of times we use different terms to describe it other than quid pro quo. And what do I mean by that is this. We often talk about, you got to get respect to give respect, or vice versa, or whatever that is. And what we're really talking about is a quid pro quo, one exchange of what's allegedly respect for another form that's coming back our way, which really isn't respect. And this is why a lot of staff who aren't knowledgeable about the way psychology works, and they're not knowledgeable about the way inmates work, they can get caught up into these, in essence, bullshit conversations where they're talking about something that they really know nothing about. Never forget that those inmates piled up a lot of their victims, not because those people didn't show them respect, but because they were trying to get over. So you need to figure out if they're trying to get over on you or not. Now, that's not to say that courtesy isn't important, because that has to be the functioning base of what we do until it's no longer deserved or no longer appropriate. So just take that into consideration, take that into mind, And I hope you guys like this video. There's plenty more that we can discuss down below this if you guys want. So anyway, take care, stay safe. This is Russ Hamilton signing out.